Go.
Hello, seventh grade.
Hello, Miss Kylie.
I am here today to discuss class jobs. I don't know, the main reason I decided to implement a million jobs is I really want my class to be more student-led. And so one way that I decided to fix the problem was to come up with some craziness here. It's all in Edmodo if you want to pull it up. She put down the class job list. I gave a full description of the jobs that I have in my room. I think they fit most normal classrooms. I know this morning I had to talk to Ms. Berryhill about some ways to adapt the jobs for the gym. But if you have a class library and things like that, then most of these jobs should be able to fit. They all fall under things that we are being asked to do in the school anyway, so it works. And really it helps. I don't know, it helps. I think it helps all the way around. It helps class flow a lot smoother. I think it really helps the kids feel like they have some ownership inside the classroom. It helps them take responsibility. A big part of our shared vision in the 7th grade is having accountability. It really helps with that. And so pretty much I break it down. They fight over these jobs. Like it's really intense, but I make it very serious. And I am always changing. And so like the next step in the process is to add job applications. And so you'll have to apply for a job. And so I hope to maybe try to get that implemented in 3rd quarter so I can have the full job thing rolled out. The major part that I have now added is I now have a work schedule. And so if I just hang it up in the room, I don't even tell you now. You are responsible for coming in, checking the schedule, seeing if you work that week or if you're off. And it's like a real job. It's real intense. I put the times that you should be up. You're in charge of watching the clock. You have to know how to tell time on the analog clock because I don't put the time down on my board. And so some of the most popular jobs are the sweeper. I think they just like to get to hold the broom in the dustpan. I don't know, but I think another part that they like about it too is the sweeper has to be able to get up and sweep without playing while I'm still teaching. And I don't know, it's probably for your kids. I talked about Jaquan Dellison this morning. He was my sweeper in Romano's homeroom, and he was the best though because he could sweep and still listen to me, and he would stop sweeping and raise his hand in the middle of the floor and answer a question. And so that's the kind of things I'm looking for, that a kid is able to multitask and do the job at the same time. A restroom logger has really helped. I know a big issue that some teachers had in the building were not having their kids sign out properly to go to the restroom. And so I just eliminated that. And it's true, if you have 90 kids that are trying to go by and they have to remember to do it, it gets really aggravating. They don't write the time properly. They don't put their first and last name like they're supposed to. They leave things out. Well, hey, Robert Held is the perfect restroom logger in my class because the boy wants to know everything about everybody. And so it is, so it works out. So he is right there. He's like, oh, they're leaving. It's 2:45. He fills it out. It's great. I keep a couple rosters, class rosters inside my notebook in case they need to write the names down, and it works there. I don't know, and the restroom logger logs everything that is happening inside the building. So they tell when kids go to guidance. They tell when kids go to the nurse. And hey, it helps for accountability for them and for us because sometimes those restroom logs come in handy. The free read logger is something that I just recently implemented this year, and it's going to actually be even more important next week when I move my reading logs to being checked every day instead of just on Fridays. That person will go around and check, but they'll also help me out on Fridays when we have library day, helping monitoring students during that time. And just, I don't know, pretty much anything that deals with our silent reading time in class, helping make sure that that gets monitored. The class librarian is one of my favorite things that I just added to the job list. I am all the way over picking up books off the floor every day. Books off the floor, books on the windowsill, books on the desk. They leave them everywhere. So the class librarian has 2 jobs. They'll be to sweep the room and see what books are left. If books are left that belong on the bookshelf, they'll replace them. And if they belong in the media center, they'll take them to the media center. They're in charge of keeping the bookshelf neat, because I can't stand books being everywhere. And they also are in charge of doing check-in and check-out of the class library if kids want to check books out from our bookshelf. So that's another person that's got to be pretty organized, have pretty good handwriting. But I open it up, and so there's another picture in your Edmodo notes where I put a copy of my agenda up. I circle times on my agenda where kids can actually go to the restroom and get water. And then I also put the times on the side of my agenda for how long everything should take. So that helps when they come in, they know about how long I'm going to be spending on an activity. But then that works for my restroom logger. They know most people will be raising their hands during those key times, so that's when they need to pay attention. And then my timekeeper, that helps them keep on track. A clipboard person, I don't know, we all have clipboards. I don't know how many other teachers in the building use them. But some days it gets a little hectic and it's hard to get your mark. So my person is there just for me to slide the clipboard down and say, hey, take over this for me a second while I'm doing this. And so I don't know, they really take the jobs really seriously. They pay very close attention. And I mean, you know, you have those nosy ones who are like, hey, it's 1:25, you're supposed to be sweeping. You know, they'll tell them. I make a list of people that don't want to work. I'm fine with that. Like I have, you know, Leroy, Jonathan, and Dylan here. They're fine with not working. Leroy was the first one to raise his hand. I'm okay with that. But at least I know, so that way it helps me when I need to fill in the rotation for work. So he doesn't get put on the work schedule. And so I told them I'll test it out, and as I get through my best ones, by the end of the year, I should have some solid people. In the last quarter, I say my best ones from the year will work the whole quarter. And we'll go there, be nice and smooth. And I don't know, I just think it is just changing the whole climate as far as my classroom. I'm not one that really posts procedures, so they're not all over the place. But the jobs help that because it still provides that structure that we need inside the classroom. And I don't know, some of our kids are not going to make it to college. They're going to go straight to work. So they need to understand that when you come in, this is what happens. And they can get fired. Kendall Duncan is my shades person right now, so he comes to the list of shades up and down every morning. He's on academic probation because he didn't do homework for a whole week. And so I let them know that it ties directly into your academics. You can't have a job and not be able to keep up with your homework. It doesn't work like that, you know. And so they have been trying to step it up. And Kendall even knows, he even says, I'm on probation, you know, so Raheem is taking over. It's okay. But I don't know. I like it for the stability, and I like it for them keeping up with a lot of the tedious things that were difficult for me to keep up with, and on top of doing springboard and everything else that we are supposed to do in the building. So, you know, a good starting point. I was talking to Mr. Kino about this morning. When I started making class jobs, I first off started off with the things that I hate doing in my classroom. So I'll be honest, and you can always find a kid that wants to do it. The restroom log was really hard for me to check all the time. That was one of the things I had the most trouble with. So the first thing I implemented was the restroom logger. And then I moved on. The next thing was the library. I'm so tired of going to my bookshelf and straightening up books. How hard is it to take a book off and put it back on the bookshelf? So now I have a person in charge of that. So you can go from there, and then as we grow and as more opportunities open up, now we have iPad technicians now that the iPads are in. So, and I have morning iPad techs and afternoon. So it's not the same people that work in the morning that work in the afternoon. You know, homeroom has a couple extra jobs with breakfast and things like that. I know some teachers have issues getting their breakfast together. Get one person on it, and that way you don't have to worry about the entire class. I had somebody in my Z period come in today said they didn't get breakfast because somebody had 5 breakfasts at homeroom. So, I don't know. Whatever. I say do it. I love it. It's amazing. Yeah. Any questions, concerns? I don't know. Praises? Yes.
How do you pick the people that do the jobs? Because it's hard for me because sometimes you want to pick the most responsible people, but sometimes they're more concerned with other things. So I've been finding that it's some of the kids that usually are off task, or that aren't getting the best of grades, do better at these jobs.
I agree 100%. We were talking about Zaisha earlier. She's a really tough girl to deal with sometimes, but she is a great leader. And I put her at the leader of my line because that's the next thing I'm working on is getting my lunch line on 0 every day, all the time, without me having to say anything. Yesterday I sent them in the hall, and Trey was upset, and I stayed in the room and talked to Trey, and all of a sudden the whole line was coming back in the room. And I said, what happened, Zaya? She said they weren't on 0, so I brought the line back. Okay,
This is the
and
same girl
so-
who wouldn't give her best friend her iPad because she wasn't listening.
Right. Or one time I let Zaisha work, I let her work on the clipboard, and she didn't have her own shirt untucked, and so she gave herself a dress code mark. Like, that's what I need, the honesty and things like that, but it really helps. And then once they see that they like it, that's something that you now have that you can work with them. It's sort of like leverage. And so as far as picking the kids, usually on Fridays, I'll ask, so who wants to try something different? Da, 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 da. And I'll write down 3 or 4 names for each one. Then I say, okay, I'll go through these names and pick a person. Okay, but please know that if you come in and you're not on the job, you could be replaced. They could be fired from attendance, just like we can at our jobs. If you don't come to work enough, they could be fired for being tardy. My timekeeper's got to be able to get to class on time. So if you have too many tardies, that's something else that could hurt you, Yes.
So your work schedule, is it weekly or daily?
It is bi-weekly, so this will last for 2 weeks, and then at the end of 2 weeks, I'll change it again. And then I just post it in the classroom, and I don't even say anything. They're in charge of coming in, finding out when they work, and so forth.
Is the person like maybe beforehand gonna kind of help them or teach them what to do a little
Well,
bit?
they know
or-
most of the rules, and they see
know it, okay.
the kids that are doing them in the classroom. And then you have those ones who are exceptional and say, well, I want to try my own way. I want to try. I'm fine with that. As long as you are still getting the job done, I let them try different things.
And one thing to think about when you think about those kids of who you're choosing, maybe a kid isn't going to be very academically successful, but it's going to build that relationship if they're successful at this. If I'm really good at keeping your plan alive, well, then I feel good in your classroom because I might not be able to do math, but I can keep your plan alive. And once I can keep your plan alive, then I might, did your plant die? But it's finding opportunities for success for some of our students that are a little more difficult.
The same person stays for the whole 2 weeks,
Yeah, for those 2 weeks, that's
as long as
that's
they don't
work.
get fired.
Right, as long as they do get fired. If they have alternates, I have an alternate on here too, so in case they do happen to be absent one day or so, that the alternate picks up the job. Mm-hmm. Yes.
How long does it take you to actually do your schedule?
Well, this was my first time doing it, so I started at the beginning of the second quarter, so it took a little bit of time, but now that I have it all made up with the times and everything, it shouldn't be too bad now to go just plug the names in. And so you all have a copy, and if I need to email it, I can email it too, and you can fill in whatever it is you need to fill in. So, of course, the first time with almost anything takes a little bit longer, and once you get the hang of it, it works. Mm-hmm. Any other
I
questions?
really like the librarian job. I'm gonna.
That's the
try
I
first
think
one.
I want
That's the
a
first
chair
thing I wanna
pusher
try.
in her.
A chair
Chair
push.
pusher.
Do it, exactly.
It's so annoying to me.
A person that, so at the end of class, that person will make sure all the tables are straight and the chairs are pushed in.
And it's someone that, like, can
I have
get
an
the class
afternoon
speak.
homework.
Exactly. Somebody go straight to class, they
Yeah.
don't stand in the hallway and socialize.
So that's where they
Exactly.
leave it at the most. I like it.
Word, thanks.
Cheer, 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 yay! Round of applause.